All right, let's go ahead and get this underway here. Thanks to everyone for joining today, and welcome to MVP Office Hours. I'm your host, Jared Kingston of Aperio, and really just to lay kind of some ground rules, I guess, on how MVP Office Hours goes for those of you who maybe haven't been on before. For those of you who have been on, you have heard this many, many times. Really, it's just an open forum, so imagine it as the Answers community in a live fashion. A couple different. One of those is just by speaking up, and if someone's currently talking, you can just raise your hand in the meeting, and we'll get to you after that one's done. Or you can also post in the chat, and we'll try to either we'll answer those over the phone, or if it's too busy, we'll just answer on the chat as well. So those are the couple ways. So because it's open, all we ask is that you just mute your line if you're not speaking. That way, it's easy to hear the questions and the answers, and everybody talking. So with that said, we have a good slew of MVPs with us today. If you guys could go ahead and raise your hands, although I can pretty much point you out there. So I'm just going to have the MVPs quickly introduce themselves, and if you could just give your name and who you work for, that would be perfect. So we'll start at the top. Amber, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Amber Boaz, and I work for Wired Triangle.
All right. Bill.
Good morning or afternoon, depending where you're at. This is Bill Greenhall. I work for StarForce.
The Wizard.
I'm Brian Kwong, also known as the Salesforce Wizard, and I work for HealthCray.
Marty.
Marty Chang, consultant at Solemn Consulting.
Philip.
Hey, Philip here, consultant with Gear CRM.
Awesome. And then we also have Andres on the call.
Hey guys, Andres Glucksmann with Aperio.
Awesome. Thanks guys for joining us today. So with that said, now that we know who's out there, we'll go ahead and kick it off. So anybody want to start us off with the first question? Feel free to go ahead and speak up. Or we'll start calling on people.
Gotta be somebody.
Nobody has a question? Nobody?
Nobody wants to ask. I'll ask one.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Who is this?
My name is Jen. I'm the administrator for Awana.
Awesome. Go ahead. What's your question?
Okay. We used to have territory management, and we moved away from that and started implementing account teams. Can I have both? Or will that be an issue?
You can have both. As a matter of fact, I currently use territory management, and I will be using account teams.
Okay, so you can have it on top of the other.
Go ahead.
Will what overrides which ownership or which access level trumps the other? Is it territory or teams?
Good question. So it really goes to the high. It doesn't necessarily trump one over the other. So like if you are getting read-write access and through one and read on the other, you have read-write access. So it's whatever has the most permissions that you're being given, that's what you get.
Okay. Okay. Do you have to do the sharing?
What do you mean by that?
Do you have to implement account share when you're loading the data, or will the territory management be enough?
So if you're loading if you're using a data importer to put who the account teams are, you do need to put also do a data load to say this is who it is for account share.
Okay.
If you are manually going onto the account and saying this person is on the account team, then inherently by doing that, the account share is also happening for you. So you only have to do the account share when you're doing an import.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks. Brian, you had your hand raised. Was that just to answer that question? Or?
Yeah, that was just to answer that question.
Cool. Who else has a question? You still start picking on people. Okay, Dennis, go ahead. You have a question about you're having some trouble with change sets?
Yeah, guys, Dennis here. I'm new administrator here, and I might be doing something wrong, but my change sets from Sandbox into production don't always seem to work. I'm picking everything but the kitchen sink, all the components, but they're not being seen, like custom fields on case speed, page layout, for example, are not showing up in production. And how would you troubleshoot that?
Hey Dennis, this is Marty. When you say they're not appearing in production, are you deploying the fields, and the page layouts?
Right, I'm making changes in the Sandbox. For example, case speed application list refresh setting, if you're familiar with that one, and custom fields on the case speed page layout. What else did we do? And they're just installed. I'll do the change set and pick all the dependencies and choose the profiles and add those in, and then send them out. And then the production Salesforce administrator brings them in, and yet they don't show up in the production org. The custom fields are not there. So I'm wondering how I would troubleshoot this.
So are you saying? So you said you mentioned that you've included the profiles, right?
Yeah, I included the profiles as part of the change set.
When you say they're not there, do the fields exist on the object, or they're just not? So I guess my question is in order to be like, do the fields exist on the object? Do the fields exist when you go to edit the page layout, and are the layouts assigned to the right users?
Yeah, so in the Sandbox, the custom field has been, added to the case object, several custom fields, and on the page layout, they've been, dragged down to be on the layout. And then I choose all that stuff, pick all those components in the change set, and add the profiles as well, and still nothing shows up on the other side, on the production side.
But that's what I mean. Like in production, do the fields exist on the object? Are the fields?
I see what you're saying. I have to double check. Good question. I need to double check.
Yeah, I think if you just follow that, it sounds like you've got the right change set built, but we probably would need a little bit more information from the production side to better understand what the issue might be. But it sounds like you're doing the right things.
Yeah, and as a new admin, that's my last question. Is it common to have a scenario where the customer, I'm a contractor, the customer doesn't want me in their production site? They have their own production admin. I'm the Sandbox admin, and they have a production admin. Is that a common scenario? So I don't even have access to the production environment.
Yeah, it's pretty common. This is Amber. It depends on the comfort level of the organization. I mean, it's going to definitely make troubleshooting very hard unless that person is willing to do, to screen share with you. But I would identify that to whoever the appropriate managers are that you're running into that trouble. But yeah, it's pretty common. You just have to adjust your work style. Yeah, I have sympathy.
Yeah, right. They don't want me to see their customer records, sensitive customer records. I understand that. So I just have access to the dummy data in the sandbox.
Most organizations, if you let them know you're willing to sign an NDA or whatever sort of information they have, most folks are more than willing to let you see customer data. Now, is the in-house admin willing to give up the keys to the kingdom? That may be the actual sticking point, but there's no good way to know that without offering.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say I should ask for access to the production org? Is that what you said?
Right. So I think maybe a good next step is to say, look, in order to troubleshoot this, I'm going to need access to production. I'm willing to sign a non-disclosure agreement, of your Mr. Client's liking, but that's going to speed up this troubleshooting a lot. Otherwise, we're going to need to do a screen share with the existing admin in order to figure this out.
Thanks.
If I could offer a suggestion, we had a situation similar, not completely, but we also then had them regularly refresh a dev box so you could see the metadata but no data after they implement stuff. It was kind of like a backdoor way of getting another snapshot, so you might be able to see what they think they're seeing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I could create a second sandbox for that, correct?
Yeah, and just don't even try to pull data, just get metadata, and you might be able to get a feel for what they think they've got. Because maybe they're just communicating incorrectly what you're actually hearing.
Yeah, good point.
Awesome. Thanks, guys and gals. Dee has a question. Dee, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I'm building timesheets, and on the 1st and the 16th of the month, we do it twice a month. I wanted to generate new timesheets for everyone, populate the accumulated leave balance, or leave accruals, and I wanted to know if I could do that through a workflow, a timed workflow, to loop the records, or it actually needs to be a trigger with Apex code. I mean, the other option I was thinking is when someone submits their previous timesheet, it would I could just have it generate a new record or something.
You could probably do something snazzy with flows with that,
okay,
where the whole timesheeting process was in flows. I don't have a good kind of mental picture of what that would look like, but it seems like that's a reasonable way to do that.
Okay, I haven't. Yeah, I've seen flows. I haven't done anything with it, so yeah.
If you're in the mood for exciting, it's definitely it's a fun path to head down. They're incredibly powerful, and they're only getting more powerful. Us button click folks are gradually taking all the jobs away from the coders.
All right, I'll take a look into that. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. And just to mention, probably our best flow people within the community, and Brian and Mark on the phone. So follow them on Twitter. Check out their blogs for a lot of cool flow stuff if you're looking for some help there.
Okay.
Awesome. Who else has a question on this lovely Friday? We have the case question from Dennis. Dennis, go ahead.
Oh, this is great. Hey, web to case question. So our web to case is set up, and if you recall there are contact fields and web fields. So there's a contact name, there's a contact name field, there's a contact email field, and a contact phone field. There's also a web name field and a web email name and a field name, and there's a web phone field. So what's happening now is web to case is populating the web information, not the contact information. So So we have the case gets created, and then web name shows up, web phone shows up, web email shows up. Customer wants the contact field to be updated. They don't want that web stuff. They want to see contact name populated. They want to see contact phone and contact email fields populated. Well, I need to write a trigger for that. I can't seem to figure it out with workflow and field update. Surprisingly, I can't do it. So I'm assuming I would need to write a trigger. Is that correct?
That's the only way I've seen it done. This is Amber. It may be able to be done in other ways, but that's the only way I've ever seen it done.
Yeah, you would think Salesforce would have those fields, contact name, contact phone, contact email, choosable, pickable in the field update, but they give you a very short list of fields that you can do an automatic workflow field update. So at any rate, I'll have to write a trigger, look online, I guess, for some trigger code.
I mean, Dennis.
Go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, this is a similar situation. You'll probably either use a trigger or visual workflow. But just so that you're aware, web-to-case should have some built-in logic that will match. So if you submit a case that has an email address, I think that's the key, that matches a contact that's already in the system, the contact should be filled in for you. So you can't edit contact name directly, but if there's a match, web-to-case should fill in that information for you. So it's not just a totally dumb form.
Okay, so if the name matches, the contact fields get filled in? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's name. I think it's email address. I have to probably just do a little bit of research, but you can test that out pretty easily.
Yeah, I tested it out. It's email.
Okay, thanks, Brian.
Sorry, what was that, Brian? I didn't catch that.
I said it is based off the email address.
Yeah, because email the same way.
Just for a little bit of backstory here, guys, this is Amber again. The reason this is hard is because anyone can fill out that form. They don't have to be a contact. Anyone can send in an email via email to case, and they don't have to be a contact. So that matching piece, in no other place in Salesforce is that matching a need. And so, it's, believe it or not, a lot harder to do than you might think. And thus the need for the code. So that's just some backstory there.
Yeah, thanks. And then if there's any tips for a new admin writing his first trigger, like finding, I guess I would just do a Google search for this kind of a trigger and try to look for some code. Somebody's already done this, right? And then just tweak it. Is that the right approach?
Seems like the reasonable approach, and it sounds like you're comfortable with code, so hopefully that won't be too big of a barrier.
Not comfortable with code.
Oh, well, then you may not want to go down that road.
No one else to do it.
The Apex workbook is really short and sweet and a great way to get up to speed as someone coming from your perspective of strong admin, new to code. It takes about maybe 2 hours to get through it, and you'd feel real comfortable, I think, afterwards.
What's that called?
It's the Apex workbook, Brian. I think that's what it's actually called, right?
I'm not sure if it's the Apex. There's a few out there. If you go to developer.force.com, there's an actual drop-down for workbooks up at the top, and you'll find it listed there.
So basically what you're looking for is you want to get some background to triggers in general and understand the concepts, go through like our test one, and then you can search for some code, and you already kind of know what you're looking at.
Okay, guys, thanks. I failed my Dev 401 exam, so, I'm, it shows you where I'm at.
So always next time.
Run it. He's definitely,
Force.com Apex Code Developer Guide is the actual PDF title of the newest one.
require.
Yep.
Do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. My phone broke up there. I wasn't sure. Really, hopefully straightforward one. So we've got a single sign-on situation, and when the way the process works is we have a shortcut on the desktop of a new user, and as soon as they log in, it creates their user record. But it doesn't complete the role piece of it, and so as admins, we have to be notified as quickly as possible of someone having logged in so we can complete their setup. Similarly, there are sometimes people will sneak through the process and get a login even though we're not aware of it. So we're trying to come up with some workflows or some triggers or something to help us be aware of them as they hit the queue. And so we started with a workflow rule, which we can do pretty easily to just notify us that a record was created. But we can't build the email template to pull information off the user record to make it a useful notification. Anytime you use the bang user dot information, it actually goes to the person who created the record's user information. And so I wasn't sure before I start down the trigger path to write some sort of email notification trigger instead, if you've dealt with anything along that line.
I have seen that before, actually. Yeah, and I know that's a known issue on templating with the user workflow. I'm not exactly sure where that's at currently. I'm trying to rack my brain on what I've seen people do around that.
I'm wondering if a Visualforce email template would help work around that.
So rather than just an HTML one, write it as a Visualforce notification?
Yeah, because with the HTML ones, you're basically more limited onto what fields and crossing over different objects than you are in the Visualforce one. The regular email templates are a lot easier to create than having to go through Visualforce, but the Visualforce ones aren't hard; they're just more tedious.
Sure.
So you might look into that, see if that will help or not.
Did somebody else have an input there?
All right, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. All right. Who else has a question?
I can throw another out there, maybe it might be a theory question, maybe not the right audience for this. We, as an organization, continue to kind of push and shove a little bit, depending on the audience, about the value of a change set versus trying to use something like Ant to get from org to org for change process. And our biggest challenge is something as a very minor or I'll just say low impact change, like a layout or a pick list addition, going through what would be considered a full sales software development cycle. Is there anything you can point me toward as far as helping understand a little bit better the best use cases of one over the other?
That's a good question. I have my own opinions. Does any of the other MVPs have any thoughts there?
I'm trying to Google a document to see that I'm thinking of to see whether it actually answers that question. This document I really like, but I want to see if it addresses this.
So Amber here. I worked in a very large org that used a similar to Ant, and in conjunction with several other technologies. The version control system we used could accept inputs from production. So if it was a very low impact, immediately needed change, we would make the change in production and then make sure it ended up in the source control system, or the version control. So that was a little bit backwards, but then it meant when we pushed to production, we just re-pushed a change that was already there, and that was fine. no harm, no foul. So that's one way to approach it. It is a little backwards, and you've got to have real clear standards on where that line is of what is allowed to be done that way. Just because you can really mess yourself up fast.
Sure. Our process right now is, especially with something like what we call low impact or emergency, is to basically make the change manually in 4 different orgs, which is clearly far worse than any sort of control-based process. So I like hearing that as an option.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so that was the question was from Matt, was it?
This is Squire.
Squire?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I mean, Squire, do you have a version control system in place now, like some kind of a source control system, like Team Foundation Server or Bitbucket or something of that sort?
We do. I believe it's called Go. I'm not ingrained in that side of the discussion. Our software developers are really applying their experience to the rest of our software development world, to our Salesforce implementation. I think that's really where we have the most challenges, is trying to get longtime developers to think about Salesforce in a different way, but at the same time try to follow the same sort of change criteria that they expect from implementations. And so we're just always looking for ways to make the lives of the admins and the mid developers better by not having to fight through some of these hoops.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like you've got the, it sounds more like just an organizational governance change, so I don't think, it depends on the magnitude of the change. The actual deployment process may not warrant you doing a change set versus it could just be like a manual change, but the ultimate, I think the biggest question is, where is your master configuration living? And if you've got a source control system, it seems like the better use of time for the organization should be focused on getting everyone to agree on the general parameters for deployment, and also just to make sure that, yes, every change does make its way to the source control system.
Okay.
And then from there on out, I mean, pushing things like there are automated tools that you can build to help you just deploy directly out of your source control system to any one Salesforce org. That can make your life very easy if everyone just agrees to use it as the master.
Yeah, and I mean, along that same note, it's a topic for probably an entire hour, but the other thing we experience is that the tool that is being used to pull the metadata sometimes seems to hit or miss what metadata is actually there, but from the expectation of, again, a core developer, they just assume it's all there, and so we tend to get into kind of a pushing match again about, that setting, why isn't that in the change set? Why isn't it in the source data? Why are some changes data with some metadata? And it just, again, that it's a lot. We're learning. We haven't been at it more than a year already with this org, so we're getting there. And so, like I said, any documentation that can help, we've been kind of pushing and shoving the development lifecycle guide back and forth, and I've been sitting in on a lot of the roundtables to try to, I don't want to say ammunition because that's not the right tone, but I'm trying to bring as much as I can to the table to help try to make these things happen better.
A quick note on that part about the metadata. If you're experiencing those, every time that happens, I would recommend you log a case with Salesforce. I feel like that's an issue that's been around for a while. It's not necessarily a new issue, but I'm surprised that it hasn't been addressed yet.
Okay. I definitely, I guess I think we all kind of assumed that it was as good as it was designed to be and we were missing something, but if it's something, almost buggish, then we can start doing that as well.
Yeah, I think I would treat it more like a buggish, because there are, I think originally when I read about it, it was more in the context of customers who have set up automatic metadata backups, and they were finding that, with no change on their part, one day they would get something, the other day they won't.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Marty. Dennis, another question here in the chat, and this is an email to case question. In addition to the new case being created, can a new customer or account record be created as well? So if it's not, if they don't find a contact in Salesforce based upon the email, create the create an account or a contact and account record. I'm guessing that did I correctly explain that? Didn't I?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the case I believe is getting created, but and maybe we don't have it set up right, but there's no new customer. We have a case object and an account person account enabled, and that's not being created when a new person emails in a case. That makes sense.
Yes, I think that's another case of a trigger there. At least I'm not familiar with any sort of setting that you can make to actually create that automatically if it's not found.
Yeah, I believe it's a trigger as well.
Hey, this is Philip. Yeah, I mean that's a custom solution, custom code scenario where it may not just be. We've run into cases where it may not just be email. Sometimes you have people come in with promotion or offer codes and or some kind of identifier, and you have some of this matching logic that may be custom. If it's found, relate this account or contact. If it's not, then spin up or insert a new one. So, but that is a code approach to it.
Does that help, Dennis? Oh, he said you lost audio dialing back in. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back now, guys.
Oh, does that help?
Yeah, all I heard was how to write a trigger, and I missed, and then I was offline. So if there's anything after that, let me know.
Yeah, that was the basics of it. It's just that it would require a trigger, and probably that would have to have some custom matching logic, right? Within that, or some sort of obviously logic to decide when to fire, but it would require some custom code and a custom solution there.
Thanks.
Okay. Mark Ross, Mr. Mark Ross, or otherwise known as Salesforce Yoda, has his hand raised. What can we do for you, Mark?
I've got a weird one. Anybody know of a way to compare profiles across orgs?
Across orgs?
Yeah. I've got an odd situation where I'm merging two orgs and I'm trying to get the profiles brought over. So, one, I want to figure out if I've got any duplicate or very close profiles that maybe I can just close the gaps with some permission sets. So either I can find some way to compare them, or I can just find a way to bring them straight over, which again is another problem.
What I would do, Mark, is actually grab a dev org and take your two orgs that you have and push the profiles into that dev org. And then you can use like Perm Comparator, I think is the Heroku solution or something, or one of those, and do your comparison. That's probably going to be the easiest method, especially if you have lots and lots of profiles in those two orgs.
Okay. My concern, and I haven't actually tried it yet, so this might be completely baseless. My concern is that I've got a lot of custom fields, a lot of custom objects, things like that. If I'm moving the profiles over to that dev org, because it's going to error out because it doesn't. Because
it'll go, hey, this you have a permission on custom object. This custom object doesn't exist.
Blast. Okay. Well, that at least gives me some information.
Yeah, but you need to do that anyway, so you can. Yeah, I mean you have to do that anyway, so you can know whether or not they have read or write access on those custom objects.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Good use for the IDE.
Huh?
I said good use for the IDE.
Indeed. Thanks.
Yeah, I was going to say I know that if you're familiar at all with Maven's Mate does a server diff, but I'm not sure if it gets to that level. Mainly because I haven't tried yet, or I haven't had to do that yet. And I see that Amber and Andres both posted some.
So you guys might try to check. So Dream Factory, they've been around for a while. They've had this snapshot tool for years, and I think I messed with it once, like a few years ago. That link right there that I put in the Hangout, I mean, I just pulled up their PDF. It seems to say that you can do org to org comparisons on profiles. I've not seen it myself, so I hesitate to say, yeah, you could definitely do that with those guys. But that snapshot tool has been around for a while. Tried and tested.
Yeah, I believe you can. It's kind of pricey, but they do have a 15 or 30-day trial. So you could use that just to do the, one time at least.
Yeah, we actually looked at them, found out they acquired a proprietary browser plugin, and we went, but maybe as a temporary solution, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, Bill Greenhaw's asking who is the lady that keeps speaking. That's Rhonda. She snuck in under the radar there.
Yeah. I had another meeting at the beginning.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi. Is the CRN doctor as known on Twitter. All right. Anybody who else has a question? We have about a little under 20 minutes. If not, we will give people some time back in their day. Call on some people I don't think we've heard from and just see if there's any way we can help you out. Or
Dennis, just one more here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so somebody just gave me a link to the change sets, what is it here? Components available in change sets. And there's a lot of stuff in here that are available. And so one of them just says app, app. So I'm assuming that anything, if I were to make some really granular, any setting on any app is should come over then during that change set, right? So for example, if I were in
I'm listening to a webinar. Yeah.
If I were to make a change to the a console application list view setting, should come over, right?
That's where it's pulling from. Yep.
Sorry, I think somebody's talking there too. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Really? So, Dennis, I think I'm hearing what you're asking. Just to clarify, so if you grab the app, you're actually only grabbing the metadata related to that app. You still have to drill down to get all the bits and pieces. Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
So it's just like a higher place to start if you start using dependencies to try to sneak up on the very granular change. But the app itself is just the information pertaining to the app. I think I believe is it tabs and the logo maybe is about the extent of what's in that piece of the app.
Okay, so my Service Cloud console setting on how lists refresh or how detailed pages refresh may not be included. Probably will not be included in the app when I choose app for a change set. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, I mean, right. You have to go deeper and deeper. You have to find the actual piece of the change that you're trying to incorporate. It doesn't just globally grab everything below it.
What you can do though is if you start with create a new change set, add the app as the first step, and then click on the button to show dependencies, and then it will show what tabs you're doing. So then you can click down to the object. But for the console specifically, I don't know if you can get that or not in a change set. But anyway, if you just start with the app though, it will at least give you some insight to the dependencies, and you can work your way down.
Yeah, I know if the setting is actually on the app, like you're saying, I think for console apps, right? If you have the streaming API on, you can how a list refreshes when it refreshes. That sort of setting, being that it's on the actual app level, that should push if you select the app. But if you're talking about a list view that is being seen within the app, you're going to also obviously have to bring in that list view. Does that help answer your question there?
Yeah, I think what's happening is, I'm talking about an obscure setting, a checkbox setting on how your list views refresh in the console app, and I don't see it in the change set. I can choose the app, and that's as deep as I can go. I can't get to that level of granularity, so I do not think it's applicable.
Oh, so yeah, so I think I know which setting you're talking about, and because that is actually on the app setup itself, under customize and create apps, I think you're going to be fine. I think it should push that setting. If it isn't, I would be interested to know about that, because that should push.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. We have about 14 minutes left. Does anybody else have any questions? Anything we can help with? Emily, Jen, do either of you two have a question, or just listening in?
Hey, this is Emily. I'm just mostly listening in, but since we do have time, I'm curious about any suggestions for use cases on a particular feature and so forth. So when you're looking at list views and safer opportunities or cases, and there's the ability to switch over to view the chatter feed, I'd like to highlight this with some of my users, but I don't have a really good example of how it changes their lives or affects someone or benefits. So I'm curious if anyone else has seen ways that their users use that I can give as an example.
Sorry, Emily, are you talking about the feed view instead of the list view on
Yes.
Oh, okay.
On an object, yes, the feed view. Is it just sort of a thing that's out there that no one ever uses, or is there some really valuable?
I think the value in that is if you're tracking in Chatter various fields that have changed that are useful to see in aggregate, right? Like in theory, a list view is already subset, right? It's my opportunities in New Jersey. It's over $1 million, right? Maybe I want to see, okay, who else has added notes to that? What has changed with those? I see it almost as I can envision managers using it more, just because it's other people. You're looking for changes that other people have made, because you know the changes you made, right? Like I know what I did. But if other folks are interacting, I can see it in a customer service capacity being really useful. Maybe I've handed a case off to the billing department, they made some sort of change, and they hand it back to me for me to contact the customer. I don't know.
Like a pulse check of like what's going on with my account, or what's going on with my, or my team's accounts.
Yeah, I think the real struggle with that is going to be if you don't have those types of things turned on and folks aren't having those interactions, is creating enough fake data for it to look compelling. And so my hope for you is that it may be worth turning on some of the field tracking, getting some more engagement around Chatter if it isn't already there, and then showing it to folks. Because showing it to empty is not, whatever.
Right.
You're going to get a lot of blank stares.
Or maybe it's a point at which we can use it as a conversation point. What would you like to see? If you could see what's going on here, what feels valuable besides like I think we have case owner changes, and if something is closed out, right? We really minimized it because we didn't want to create too much noise, but maybe it's a conversation we can have about what would be useful. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't think about management. That's good. Thank you. Anybody else have any suggestions there?
If you do use that feature or have a conversation about it, I would really point out that on that page there's also an area where you can add it to favorites. And that's I have used a couple of times.
Okay.
So then they can quickly switch back to that feed, that feed once they already have their criteria selected.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's honestly, I haven't really used that at all. They're really cool features.
And where it puts that is that once you add to the favorites, because I don't personally don't use the favorites that often, I keep on forgetting about it. But if you go to your profile page on the, I think it's on the left-hand side, it just lists all your favorites, so you can quickly go there and kind of filter through. Or if you have a very noisy chatter feed, very active one, then you can just go to your favorites and just see those things on different categorizations that you have set up.
Right. Okay. Okay, I think I can kind of pull a story together with this and use it to, like I said, just see if we're always tracking the right fields. Thank you.
Awesome. Ben, you have your...
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I have Teams implemented, and I'm looking at reports, and on the show, I have the option of showing my account teams, accounts, my team's accounts, my team's account team, and their accounts. What's the difference between each of these?
If you click on the help, the help while you're on that page, it should give you an explanation, and I probably have had to reread that 5 different times in a row to understand it all. So I understand why it might not be that obvious, but basically, my teams. So the difference between I don't have the options all right in front of me. It basically has to do with you're including yourself as well as just your team in it. So there's some kind of subtle, to me it seems like kind of some subtle differences, but it is explained in a really good help article.
How do I get to that again? I'm on the report, and I clicked on help, and it just told me run the report. Was a help topic.
If you're in one of the reports, like an opportunity report that would have those options, let's see if I can get the exact help page. It's not on all the pages, but in some of them it comes up.
Yeah, I'm on one right now where I'm running a report, and I can see it on my show. I have my account teams accounts, and all that. I click on help, and what comes up is just run a report.
Okay,
help on running a report. I'm like, the report run page. I'm like, okay, that doesn't help me.
I'll find it. There is a help article that explains it all.
Okay.
Because I was using it a lot. I had turned on territory management in an org, and then you also had choices not only for my teams, but also my territories, my team's territories, my territory with teams. I mean, it was like 5 different variations, and they all was sounding kind of the same to me.
Yeah, I just posted a link in there, and hopefully, Jared could post it back. That's kind of one. There's a couple articles, but there's one help article that talks, a little bit about it as well. It's probably the one Rhonda's doing. So, did you see I posted that to you, Jared?
I see you posted that in the chat there.
Yeah.
I don't see it. Is it posted on the chat? I don't see it.
Yeah, Jared, I think you have to repost it for everybody to see it because we're only chatting with you.
Oh.
If you're in the help and success community, there's a lot of hits by looking through the just if you do search for something like my team's account, one of those options, you'll get a dozen hits, and you'll probably find something additionally there too.
Yeah, I mean there's several articles, several questions out there. Piece them all together, and you'll figure it out hopefully.
Okay.
Jared now posted the link, the one article that I have, but again, there's more out there.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm just seeing components for change chats.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing also. I'm seeing the change set one.
I'm sorry, was this an accounts report, or are you trying to do this on a opportunity report?
It's an account report. It's account teams that we have enabled. It's not opportunity teams.
Okay, got it. Yep.
So as I understand it, right, and this is just my understanding of these, but the help article should help a little bit more, is my accounts, right, are ones that I own. My account teams accounts where I'm on the team. So I may not necessarily own the account, but I am on the team.
Right.
And then account team and my accounts combines the first two, so both. And then my accounts, as I understand it, would be actually from more of a manager type view where I'm seeing the accounts that people own who are below me in the hierarchy. And, and then obviously all accounts is all accounts. But
my team's account and their account. My team's account, teams, and their accounts. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's going to mix.
What is that last one?
It's going to mix the ones of team and, your orange hierarchy together.
It's knowledge. It's knowledge article 5653.
Yeah, there you go.
5653. Okay.
Well, that's one of them. There might be others, but
yeah, that's the one I saw too. That's a good one.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
And the terminology is kind of confusing. So, like, if people ask you about it, I really think it's the kind of thing where you want to, kind of provide it in writing and then kind of explain it as they're looking at it, because it is, it's definitely confusing. The words all sound so similar.
Rhonda said you're going to have to read it over and over. I still have to look it over and over. You're not going to. Takes a while.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I keep spamming the wrong link. Apparently the copy and very well. Thank you, Marty.
And I'm sure there's also an article, if anyone's interested in opportunity teams, sales teams, it also has terminology. It's not exactly the same. And then, as I mentioned, with territories, there's, teams also, and there might even be one for case teams. Same general concept, but where the word my is and what the order of the words, make a difference.
Okay.
Not like that passionate about change sets. So my apologies, TGIF. All right. We got 3 minutes left, so find sf.info. If you have not checked that out, it is the bomb diggity for finding Salesforce info naturally.
Find sf.info. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. That's good stuff there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to post these other links that for the comparison tools that were posted. And other than that, we're going to go ahead with 2 minutes left just to make sure we don't run over. Go ahead and stop it there. And thank everyone for joining today in the great dialogue. And until next time, have a good weekend. And I got one more thing that I'll plug here is on the MVP Office Hours page, there is a poll that I've posted out there on the communities page. We're toying with the idea of potentially having some MVP Office Hours dedicated to the certain Salesforce clouds, if you will, like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, etc. And we're just really looking for your feedback of how valuable you think that would be. It wouldn't be permanent. It would just be kind of a series-based, really, where we just run through the different clouds and then return to the normal format, and just kind of a way to mix it up potentially. So we're just really looking for your feedback. So definitely go check that out on the community, on the MVP Office Hours group, and let me know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback in direction there, so we can kind of make a decision whether that's worthwhile to do. So, as always, I appreciate everyone joining, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, everybody.